Today you're going to find out what happens when you listen to the Keep the Change podcast for 3 years. We have Philip Paul in the studio. He's driven all the way up from Waihi Beach. Mate, good to have you in the hot seat.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No worries. So this is another one of the Changer episodes where we're speaking to people who have found the podcast, and then we explore what they've done with some of the education. So 3 years ago, you come across Keep the Change?
Yeah, scrolling Instagram, had Smoko, and Mikey was ripping into boomers. And I thought I could get on with that. And then anyway, carried on flicking on. About another week ago, you guys were talking about how people weren't ready. This was back when interest rates were low. And I was like, oh, these guys, makes sense.
Yeah.
And no one's really talking about this in the New Zealand space. And so, just started listening and, just got onto it and just added value to my life, more importantly. And it was nice to have some mates that were in the financial bubble. It's kind of niche part of the world. And, so just started talking to you guys, like listening to you guys, and went from there.
Brilliant. So you find it on Instagram first and then realise that there's a podcast?
Yeah. There was heaps of Mikey, mostly the babyface assassin, just ripping into stuff like super aggro. Yeah. And it was great. I was like, oh yeah, this guy means something. He wants to say something, and it's just really rare in the New Zealand space of people actually standing up and saying stuff. Everyone's so soft.
Yeah.
It doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So when you guys came on and you guys were talking about, toughen up, get on with it, it really resonated with me, and yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. Oh, well, maybe we need to bring some more aggro out.
Yeah.
I've been getting told to calm down recently.
Yeah.
So where are you at that stage when you find the podcast? Like how old would you have been?
So I was probably about 22, 23.
Yeah. And what did your financial journey look like by that stage?
Yeah. So I grew up with hardworking parents. They have small business, real hardworking, and they kind of set the tone for me. So I left school at 17, started building an apprenticeship, and just hooked into building, saved a lot, and built a nest egg, kind of like I remember before Charlie Munger was kind of in fashion, he had the 100K rule. Yeah. And so I started stacking up, and then lockdown, fast forward, I saved about, got up to like 50K, 7K when I was 21, 22. And I had a plan to invest. Yeah. And I saved up the nest egg, and then I was just waiting. The markets were all kind of pretty heavy at that point. And COVID happened. It was perfect time, and I had cash in the bank, and I went on ASB Securities and bought some stock. Yeah. Yeah, so my parents were very nervous about that.
Were they investors? Or were they into investing?
My old man kind of is. Yeah. Not really, not at that point. The word was a scary point. That was when you were watching Fox News and the COVID fatalities were up there, and everyone was real nervous. The Dow Jones was dropping a lot. And I told them, I was I'll just invest. And they kind of sat me down, and they were like, it's really dangerous. There were some more passionate words than that.
Yeah. You can use them on this.
Yeah. So I was just like, whatever. And we agreed that I'd invest 10 grand, like 15 grand. Yeah. And so that was the agreement. And then a month later, I was like 50K, basically all in. Put it all in on different, did my research, wanted to be a value investor. If you're in the space, you kind of know. Yeah. So try, listen to Buffett, Munger, Dalio, Peter Lynch, just kind of consumed a lot of that information, and just went and bought some stocks when everyone was a bit nervous. And it was good. It's good. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty incredible, mate. You're doing all the things that it's easy to look back in hindsight and say, that's what you're supposed to do. But so if we just unwind a little bit, so 17 to 21, you go out there, you sink your teeth into building. I'd imagine it's like an okay-ish paying skill set when you get going, right? But you're busting your ass. But there's overtime and stuff that you can do as well.
Yeah. So so the big first 2 years in building really suck. It's a massive shock to the system. You go from school, and school's relaxed, and then you get put on a building site, and there's all grown men, and they don't care about you being soft. So those first 24 months was just me hardening up, and I was very fortunate to have a really nice boss. Yeah, and he was fantastic, and he took me under his wing and gave me a hard time, but in the right ways.
Yeah. When you say hardening up, because it's unfashionable in this day and age to say that, do you mean they're just conditioning you to, mate, we're up at this time, we're working all day,
Absolutely. No one cares. Yeah. No one cares if you're tired. You get up and you go to work, and you just follow the boys, and you do what you're told when you're an apprentice. Yeah. And that's good, and that sets the tone for my life. I came from a footballing background. I played a lot of football growing up, so I was kind of used to it. But just being at a at a normal day level every day, having that discipline was great. It was great. It's just exactly what I needed, because when you're 17 and you're year 12 at school, like, you're the biggest in. And I got politely asked to leave school in year 12. I wasn't like any trouble or anything. I was just, the teacher saw I wasn't for school. So so
get him out of here.
Yeah.
But they're probably right?
Absolutely. Like, I'm not really into sitting in a room like this. I love being on site with the boys and banter and waking up early and having my own. I was always my own man type of thing, and not in like an ego way. I just wanted to be me, And in school, you can't. You got to go to school and listen to teachers and just But that didn't work for me. I left and I went into building, and it sucked for the first 24 months, and then after that I was flying. My boss said, he gave me the analogy of coming to the ball as a football term. You got to wake up and you got to go to the ball, and then you're in control. Life's easier when you wake up and you want it. And then so from then I was just on site first, leave last, because what else are you going to do? Go home and watch Netflix or go home and drink piss. That never really, because if I would go home, my parents were never at home because I was working. So I was just sitting at home playing Xbox. So what a waste of time when you can watch your bank account grow and you can get away from that 9 to 5, because at the end of the day, I don't really like working. No one really likes working, but I needed to make that money to get away from work so I can decide if I want to go to work or if I want to go to the beach.
How did you understand that at such an early age? And what sort of, instead of pissing up and buying Subarus and whatever you can do as a tradie and like shouting all the rounds and stuff, what kept you away from that?
I played a lot of football. So when I finished school, I was 17 in first team football, which is like another thing. So on the weekends, I've had to score goals, because that's also like a little side hustle that I was on. I was getting paid.
Okay.
So I was at a level where you get paid petrol money, and so I had to perform. If you're on the piss on Friday night and you got to wake up on Saturday, you're just going to get kicked the shit out of it.
Yeah.
So you got to be, again, you got to come to the ball and you got to play football, and you can't sit back in those games and just relax and let the world. So you got to get up and you got to turn up and you got to eat your breakfast. You got to have that sleep beforehand, and then that attitude carried me on, because as you get older, it becomes like more relaxed. Like guys start drinking more piss and they get in their 20s, and then I managed to go up the ranks to get up to like National League, which was like a big deal. It was kind of where I wanted to play.
Right on.
I made a few appearances for old Hamilton, and that was where I wanted to go, and that was when I was about 25. So that was in the summer, and then that was it. That was football, and then just focused on building and work and investing, really.
Nice.
Yeah.
We were talking about football. I was on Staggy on the weekend. And like a lot of us played football, but now the lads got kids and stuff, and they're talking about trying to get their kids into sport, not just because they played sport, but because it's such a good tool in your toolkit when you then move different towns or whatever, that you've got something where you can then go and make some friends.
Absolutely.
And I hadn't even really thought about it like that, but so many of the people on the Stag do. They were like crossing over through cricket and football, but also I think it teaches you, and I was reflecting when I moved to Harwada and ended up playing football in Eltham, like that's how I effectively like had a great life where I got to meet different people and stuff. But if I hadn't played soccer, and I kind of thought, I had never really thought about it like that maybe that's why your parents are so encouraging of us to play sport. Yeah,
and it was always comfortable for me, to this day. Like I can go on any football pitch in New Zealand and do all right, and people be like, oh, that guy's decent, that guy's, and then straight away you got mates. And even where I live now in Waihi Beach, and like I go to Whangamata over the hill, and I couldn't believe it, there was football there, and I went and played, and then all of a sudden I've got like 20 mates that I walk down Whangamata and I was like, oh, g'day mate. Awesome. And it's just like you see, like you have that connection with people, like especially if you follow the sport, and like when you go to town around here, everyone's wearing a football shirt, and you can start. It's just a gateway to talking to people. And it's a whole nother rabbit hole that we could probably talk for a long time.
Well, we'll dive back to the finances, but quickly, Phoenix or the AFC?
Yeah. No, I love what they're doing. Auckland's always need a big club, and Auckland's always bigger than Wellington. Yeah, we go there all the time and beat them. I'm not a big fan of Phoenix, to be honest.
Oh, there you go. I clip that out. Okay, so you're pretty disciplined, obviously. You're pretty focused, and so then you just start stacking, but you're not thinking about investing yet, and your investing is basically into a bank account and stack the snowball.
Absolutely. Yeah, I got to about 20 and I had 35 grand, and I put on a term deposit, And then I was like, oh, sweet. You know, I was like 4.5%. I was like, oh, like do
What
all
is
the calculation.
this? Yeah.
And then after a year, I got the money back and I got the tax. And I was like, oh, fuck this. Like, I need to find a better vehicle to put my money in. And so, yeah. And, yeah, so that's, and then I just kept on stacking. And it was all like for goals. Like personally, I wanted to buy a brand new Hilux. I thought I'd be the man.
Yeah.
And I got to the Toyota dealership and no one wanted to talk to me. So and then I was just like, I don't need this. You know, and it's a story like multiple things in my life where I've got to a certain level, I've aimed for stuff, and then I've got there and I've walked into the shops and like no one wants to talk to me. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I don't need this.
Yeah,
like, this is me. I'll just keep on stacking. Yeah.
Wow. It's I think like a lot of women wouldn't understand that for a guy, that's kind of what is marketed to you, that's what will make you more important or more of a man or whatever is some sort of flash vehicle. And whether like in your space it'll be probably a ute, in my space it's like I remember walking the Beamer parking lot and no one wanted to yarn to me and I'm thinking, what fuck? Like and I subsequently have not brought a Beamer.
Absolutely.
One of my goals is to help 100,000 Kiwis improve their financial literacy and in turn help create a better New Zealand. Generate has a very similar goal to educate and empower Kiwis to make smart KiwiSaver decisions so more of us can be better off at retirement. That's why I'm stoked to have them on board as sponsors. Together, we can reach more people and make this goal a reality. If you've never got KiwiSaver advice before, book a no obligation chat with a Generate advisor at generatekiwisaver.co.nz/change. They'll even put you in the draw to win 5K worth of vouchers just for having a chat, whether or not you decide to sign up. T's and C's on that webpage. A copy of the product disclosure statement is available at generatekiwisaver.co.nz. The issuer of the scheme is Generate Investment Management Limited, and of course, past performance does not guarantee future returns.
I kind of talk to the young guys on site, like you can get there and you can just use it as a goal. You know, you can have 40 grand in the bank and not go buy the Ranger because it's just a depreciating asset. So like, or you can tick it up and lose a whole lot of money and then I'll run through that 40 grand ute's going to cost you 75 at the end of the day. Did you know that? You know, like the type of stuff. And they're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. And they're like, all that to impress people that just see the car. They never see you.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and they just see themselves in the car.
Exactly. Morgan Housel talks about it well. And that kind of changed me. And like even today, like to be honest, before I was here, I went to the 911, to the Porsche dealership and had a look and I thought, man, that's awesome. Like, I can't wait till I might be able to buy one of those cash. Yeah. And then if I get there and I walk in there and it's just like, oh, it's just a goal, you know? It's just, I just use that in my mind.
And I sometimes say to Mikey, because he could go and get the Lambo now.
Yeah.
But for him, it's like, nah, I need to tick this off, and but maybe late 2025 he reveals that the Lambo may come.
Yeah, but you never want to peak too early, you know? Like,
but I think that's like it's a good distinction where a lot of people don't understand. It's actually the ability to do it and what it takes to get there, not necessarily getting it. And, you know, we can all get a lot of shit on finance that we then realise, like, oh, now I've got myself stuck and I'm the exact customer that they wanted.
Yeah. The aim is being rich, not looking rich.
Yeah, nice.
You know, like,
Okay, so you stack that cash and then you then think, right, I've copped the tax on the term deposit interest, which a lot of people don't understand. Yeah. And so then you're probably losing a third of that or at least 30%.
Yeah.
And then you realise, oh, I've got a net return of this, that's pretty low. Yeah. So then you start learning about investing as well and just educating yourself?
So I was kind of like sick of the brain rot on site because like, you know, everyone at Smoko, you go on their phones, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah. You know, and I kind of got sick of that. And then I just like, I should start reading, you know, like I want to start. And I picked up the Barefoot Investor, which is like a Australian financial book. And that kind of started it. And then, I just got into reading and it really helped me. It kind of helped my brain because I'm really busy in my head and it just helped me chill out. And I read that and then I read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It was sitting in my van for ages, like my work van.
Who's brought you that, or like, where's that? How's that come to you?
The old man had it on the shelf, bookmark like halfway through it, and I was like, it looked fat, like it was a fat one. And it was good, and I saw it somewhere. I think it was on a reel or something, and I just picked it up, and it was I read the first chapter, and if you remember the first, it's quite jargony and like for a young mind, it was like, oh,
what the fuck is this?
Yeah, so put it in the back of the van 3 months, like next smoker, I'll get onto that one. And then one day I was just like, fuck it, something probably happened and I probably learnt about something or someone pissed me off and I need to get better. Yeah. So I picked it up and I started reading it. And then, you know, in the book, you know, you write your obituary and you write your goals and where you want to be. And I like the obituary thing hit me hard. That's probably where kind of wrote off like a lot of material things.
Yeah.
That obituary, like who you want to be remembered for and what. And so that Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and then, you know, you get into Dale Carnegie's and you get into all these amazing books.
Yeah.
And then your world just changes, and you just the world kind of takes its mask off. You kind of see everything for what it is a bit better. And that really helped me just reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was walking back from the gym today, and there was a lady, I'll just say it, like there was a bus driver.
Yeah.
And they weren't driving, and she's sitting on the seat outside the bus playing like Candy Crush or something.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, oh man, like I wrote a whole money mail about that. It was last week. So it's just like front of mind. And I'm like, that's the distraction.
Yeah.
Like, that's that one thing that you swap out of your life. And then all of a sudden you're on a completely different path.
Yeah. And I kind of say to the young fellas on the side as well, like, show me your feed and I'll show you your future.
Oh, nice.
Because, like, you know, you can Instagram's a changed beast from when I was younger. Like, there's great content on it. And, like, it's hard, you know, all the alpha stuff. But you can just find yourself scrolling for hours on just rubbish. Or you can have, you know, like, keep the change in your ears. And, like, yesterday, for example, you had a bit of a rant about how you just get into it and start doing it.
Yeah.
And I was on Smoker. I got to order some stuff. I got to call people, and I was just like scrolling. But then I realized that, you know, you just got to do it. You know, and it's just so that kind of came from who I chose to have on my feed, and then that helped me in life. So Instagram's a different beast, and it can be a real tool now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think people forget that they can curate their phone and their social media. Someone said to me today actually about how they have different settings for their notifications and they struggle to focus. And I'm like, but why do you actually need those notifications? Like, that's the underlying question, not the like, oh, I've set it up so they pop up when I'm at home or whatever. Like, why do you actually need them if you're struggling with focus?
Yeah.
But all these platforms, they're trying to get our attention, and they want to use us how they want to. And that's mostly to keep us engaged with the right type of content so that they can then sell advertising or prove to advertisers that they have X amount of users for X amount of average time per day. So you've got to be so mindful of it.
Exactly. If something's free, you're the product.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're getting sold, and your attention is getting sold to these big corporations. And that's another thing you kind of click. You're like, you're just getting that the whole lifestyle's in your mind's getting built, and then that leads into the whole power of the mind. And are you in control, or is, you know, your feed in control, or are your friends in control, or like keeping up with the Joneses in control? You know, that type of stuff. How
do some of these young fellas on sites and stuff? How do they go with you? You know, being that sort of influence. So there must be some that are like, okay, fuck off, mate.
Yeah, the whole, like I said, it's being rich, not looking rich. So like when you talk to these young guys, and you're just, I have a 1989 Land Cruiser. You know, I'm just real. Like, try to keep it mellow. Yeah. And so they're like, oh, what do you mean? And so sometimes I get to the point, like, flick open the bank account. Like, I don't have any money anymore, but I had like a share trading, and I showed them. I'm like, look at this. Yeah. You know, this is real. This is money. You know, and then they kind of, they're like, well, I was 19, you were 19, you know, like 20, and they're making all the mistakes. It's just the faster you learn, the less mistakes you make, and the less they get, because you wake up and you're 27 pretty quick.
Oh yeah, yeah, mate. I'm nearly 37.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the most important thing to do is like thank your younger self. You know, that's what I try to do today, is to look back when I'm 30 and be like, oh yeah, thanks for that. I really appreciate you doing that. And I try to get those guys to think, you know, you got money coming in, and you're living at home, which is great. You should try to live at home for as long as you can, in certain degrees, and just stack that money, because one day, you know, you'll be 25, you'll have all these bills coming in, and then you'll be having misses, and then and then all of a sudden a kid pops out, and like, kids change your life. You know, I've got a 2-year-old, and it's just wild how much it changes you. Good for the good. But you know, all of a sudden you're in a hole, and you talk about it all the time, you know. A lot of people find financial holes all the time. And I'm telling these boys, you know, today, lock in, you know, start getting like, you got so much, you got everything that older people want, and that's your youth, and that's your potential. And just go and grab it. And that's and some of them, you know, it's like Charlie Munger talks about it. You can start talking about finances straight away with someone, and you'll know if they get it or they don't. So you just that kind of goes. And I've met 2 or 3 guys that really get it, and it's really rewarding. Like, and they're onto massive futures, scary futures. Like, so it's awesome.
Yeah. It's cool to plant seeds, because I think that's part of it, right? It's like just planting seeds with people who maybe have not had exposure to this information, and then they go, on their journey and on their path.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here as like an older guy. Like I'm still only 27, but I try to help everyone, like,
Good on you.
to provide value.
So then you've gone, if we go back to the investing, so then you start investing when the market crashes, because you've obviously conditioned yourself so well that that's the time to get
on
in.
the streets. Yeah. Rockefeller.
And what happened from there in terms of the markets? Like, how did those investments go?
Yeah, so I got onto Lithium before it was cool.
Yeah.
Before everyone had a Tesla, and it was subsidised by the government. So bought a company called Pilbara, which is like the real winner of the day, and that was like 35 cents, 28 cents. I was telling my mates, like, this could be good.
Yeah.
And then other ones like Australian building companies and all on the ASX. So, and Whitehaven Coal and type of like, and even like just, I was doing a little bit of short trading of like 3 months of Ansell, which sell all the protective equipment during COVID. Like, they're selling all the masks and stuff. And they're just like, you just did a bit of research, and I was sitting doing nothing like everyone else was. And I was like, oh, okay, so everyone's going to need protective masks, gloves, all this stuff. I'll just buy some.
Yeah.
They'll make heaps of money. Just simple stuff. And I actually got into investing to just pay back my laptop, because I bought a MacBook like on the day of lockdown.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, yeah, I'm the man. I got a MacBook. And so as long as I pay my MacBook, I'll be sweet. And then all those investments started like doing all right. And then I had like enough to buy a whole lot of laptops, and I was like, I'll buy a Rolex. And this is the story. And I was like, I really want a Rolex, because at the time they were real cool. They're going up in value. They're a great asset, and I'd be the man. And walked in down Queen Street to the Rolex dealership. Then they just didn't want to know me. I was like 23 at the time. I was with my missus, and they just didn't want to know me. And then I was like, it's not me. It's all good. Like, that's good. Yeah. And then so I was like, I'll be the man, and I'll save up, and I'll buy a Hilux, with the money I make out of my stocks. And then again, they went to the field days. That was when they had no stock, and then you just couldn't buy one. And I was like, so I don't need any of this. And then you kind of learn about extremely wealthy New Zealanders who I look up to, and you would never know how much money they have. And that's real money.
Yeah.
And that was kind of inspiration to me. Like, I know a lot of very wealthy people that you'd never know. And that's what I kind of want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really want to. That's the goal. Yeah. Hopefully I get there one day, but I don't need to, flash around or anything. Yeah.
So as you've made more money, you've basically discovered that you need less shit that you thought you probably would need before you made the money.
Absolutely.
It's crazy, yeah.
It is. It is. And it's compounding. Once you learn about compounding, it kind of changes your whole world as well. Like, I'm not extreme to like Warren Buffett, where he wouldn't go out for dinner or anything, because he knew that $7 would compound to $3,500.
Yeah.
But I was just learning about it, and it made everything easier to save, easier to work hard, because you knew that you're gonna, it was growing, it was working for you. And I was young, and I just kept on. While I had that investment, I just kept on working, kept on saving, and so with the stocks, I probably held them till I was about 25, 26.
Yeah.
So me and my wife, we were having a baby, and that kind of messes you up. Like as a male, like first I was 25, real young, which is all good. It was all planned, ready to go. And so I kind of got the jitters. I didn't want to be risk averse. And once you get into all the investors, Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, Peter Lynch, once they teach you is that the home is quite important. And if you got a home paid off, it's so very important. So I kind of changed tack, and I was like, okay, I want to build a house, like buy a house and get into it.
Yeah.
And so that took a while from that, because we bought it at the end of last year. But it took like 2 years, and got to that point.
So you bought the property with debt, or are you saying you bought it
cash?
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like a little lifestyle block.
Yeah. But you've got the skills where you can upgrade it and build, right?
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, what a lot of tradies and stuff, and I always bang on about this, forget about, is that they've got a skill set that is one of the most in demanded in New Zealand, and one of the most valuable because of what you can do with it. Yeah.
And we want to be off grid. So like that type of vibe. So off grid, solar panels, Starlink type of thing. We're just like 10 minutes out of town, but we're still like all our own, and we can grow our own food and stuff like that, which me and the wife are quite into. We're
awesome.
Quite passionate about.
Yeah.
And that just comes from saving money. You know, like we just want to save money, and it's just ended up being this thing where we just want to save money, and then also the value you get from the groceries at the supermarket. You know, you go there and you spend $100 and there's nothing there, and there's no nutrition.
Yeah.
You know, so that's another thing that we're really into. But yeah.
Yeah, my partner said to me the other day, "Oh, there's $250 worth of groceries in the fridge. Did you notice them?" I'm like, "Oh, eh?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Is it in the freezer or what's the?"
Yeah,
it's quite scary. Eh? Okay, so you've basically you deal well with the stocks as well, and then you build the snow. What did your parents say when you were doing well? They're like, "Oh shit, like maybe he knows what he's doing."
My old man was a bit more heavily invested after that. You know?
Yeah,
he got into it, and he's done well too
Yeah.
out of that little bubble.
Awesome.
But yeah, they're proud. But at the end, I was always pushing the envelope since I was born. So they're kind of used to it.
Here he is again. Yeah. So then you sell all of those, and then that's the capital that you use to then buy the. Yeah.
Well, so I built a tiny house as well.
Yeah.
So we still live in a tiny house, 30 square meter tiny house, and we've lived in that for 3 years. So like,
awesome.
It's hard. Like 30 square meters with a 2-year-old's hard, but at the end of the day, it's really cheap, and it's made us. And my wife, she looks after my boy all the time, which is really important to us as well.
Yeah.
And so that keeps us saving, ticking over, putting money away so we can build the house.
Yeah.
And so there was savings, there was selling the tiny house, and
buying the tiny house.
we sold it. We sold it to our in-laws, but they've let us stay in there until we build our house.
Gotcha.
Because it's on their land.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh yeah, we'll have it. We can have visitors in it. And it's just like, oh yeah, sweet. Okay, that worked out good. Don't need to sell it on marketplace.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've done that and sold that, and then just saved really. And then
so where are you living at the moment?
we live in the 30 square meter tiny house.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and so we're building the house as we go.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And you're doing the building?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, how good.
Yeah. It's
amazing.
Great. Yeah.
And I guess it'd be probably like for a lot of people, we get marketed to have a big house and like all of that sort of stuff. So to be able to get yourself financially sweet and then go, nah, I'm gonna let's keep it humble.
Yeah.
And stick to the tiny house. Like a lot of people wouldn't be able to do that. They'd be too tempted to get into the flash stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it's just a pissing contest. Like how long do you want to go? Who's got the bigger house? Like I live in Waihi Beach, Whangamata, like this massive house, like 14 million.
Oh yeah.
They're only in there for 2 weeks. And I just look at it. I've worked on them, you know.
Yeah.
And they're fantastic pieces of architecture, but I'm like, what a waste, you know. All these boys, and we do have a housing problem.
Yeah.
There's no denying it. But yeah, it's when you can we can fit our lives in 30 square meters, and it's great, and it's a great stepping stone to get to buying your own house. But yeah, it's really hard, and not many people do it. They do look at you sideways.
Yeah.
You know, when we've only got 1 bedroom, 1 kitchen, and it's all real tiny, but
You're just going against the grain. So it's like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah,
you can't be
absolutely.
happy. Surely you're not happy.
Yeah. I've kind of learned from, if you're going with the grain, something's kind of wrong.
Yeah.
You know, you're becoming a product. You know, I don't want to retire when I'm 65 with a mortgage. And that's a whole nother thing with a liability of a house, because a house is a liability. The bigger the house, the more it costs. The more it rots, the more you need to renovate.
Rates, insurance, etc. Stuff you can fit in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's always a bigger one. You never get,
Nah. So then the goal is to have basically no cost for living. So you've basically eradicated one of the biggest costs that most Kiwis have, which is the cost of living. So land, etc. Yeah,
and then to compound the wealth, just put it into stocks. I'm not a big property guy, even though I'm a builder. I don't really like the whole rental side of it, dealing with tenants, and a lot of wealthy people I know are starting to get out of it. They just invest, and that's kind of what I like. I love investing. It's business. Learning about business is great.
Yeah.
But so that's what we're gonna do. Just keep all the build a company. So the deal with my wife was to, we've been together since we were 17. Well, I was 17 and she was 16.
Nice.
So we kind of got to this point where we had this money and like, what are we going to do with it? Do we get a mortgage? She has to work, or should we just like live a bit below our means for a while and then live smaller? And then we can just have the house, and I can build the business, and she can stay at home with the kids, and that's kind of the deal we've kind of come to. And so so we've set this base, which is the house with no living expenses, and then that just lets us build whatever we want to build as far as business goes. Like,
any tips for how to have those conversations with your partner? Because it's something that I often get asked is from both sides.
Well, we've been together since a long time.
Yeah.
And we've had those, it's slowly been chipping away at her. I have, because I'm a big saver, and I think if you set the tone in the relationship, it really helps. Like if you're saving money and working hard, and they're like, they kind of pick it up, and they're like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing now. And and it makes the conversations easier when you're working hard and you're both putting into it. And at the end of the day, you've just got to break it down into normal terms. Like, did you want to go on a holiday, or did you want to not work for 3 years less than we need to, or when we can be with the grandkids, or you know, that's what it really. You kind of have to just boil it down to what it is, and what money is, and it's just a tool, and you've got to make it work for you. And I mean, I can't really talk because my wife's been on board and she's great. She's amazing. So
you've obviously had like a number of conversations around goals and stuff to have this much alignment and be so clear so early.
She is really relaxed, and I'm really driven. So we kind of work
Perfect.
each other. Like, you know, she just chips away at life, and she does a really good job of looking after the house, and I'm just there working hard and taking risk, and she's not really too bothered about. I used to give her a hard time, like, why aren't you invested? Like, and she was just like, oh, I don't know. And I was
you
like,
can sort that, mate.
Yeah. Why are you after paying those shoes? I used to give her a hard time about, because it's just, you know, it's just normal. It's all good. Like, as long as you pay off Afterpay real quickly, but it's just something you don't want to lean on. Because, she was doing it for the right reasons. Obviously, she wanted to save a certain amount every week. But it's just talking about it and becoming normal. Like, it should just be normal
to talk about this stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. Even on site, like you start talking about money, and it becomes such a taboo subject. People go in the shell, and something I learned is like the things that control you, you struggle talking about, and that's like a lot of people. Like everyone has problems, and that's more than normal. That's who we are as humans. But like if you go up to money in a sense and just go and shake its hand and be like, you're just money. Like you're not anything more than that. You're not anything less than that. I want you to work for me. I don't want to be a slave to money, and just get it working for you. And you kind of turn the whole narrative of like you work for the paycheck. Well, you're working for the paycheck to put the money there for it to start working for you. You know, if you just like let it go out the door. That's one thing I don't like doing, is just letting it go. Insurance companies, it just becomes this massive snowball. Try keep all of it and get it to work for you, and it can be your third employer, your third employee in the circle.
Yeah, nice.
And I think once you understand that, and once you understand that the freedom you're going to get with the money, and you can both get on that path of, okay, like he's going to stay at work late to make more money, so we can get it to work for us, so we can grow. And another thing, I love to break down mortgages, because that's something I learned when I was 19, is how mortgage work. And being a builder, you get to do work for great customers. And we did a great job for a guy, and he sat me down as a 19-year-old, and the foreman was buying a house, and he explained to me how a mortgage worked, and he was out for $500K or whatever, and it was like a 6% interest rate, and I was like, oh sweet, like 6% over 30 years, that's all good. Like that's only like, 36 grand.
Yeah.
And he said, nah, that's every year, boy. You know, and that just kind of clicked for me, and I was like, yeah, fuck this. You know, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that guy. So if you can put that in your household, that hey, if we just pay off a bit more of that principal every year, look, 15 years we won't have a mortgage.
Yeah,
you know, we'll have that. We'll have freedom, and we can go on holiday, and that's all delayed gratification, which is really hard to get your head around. Yeah.
It's funny because someone messaged me actually a few days ago, and kind of similar to your situation, where they're living in a tiny house, and they sent me a video from inside it, and they were like more than happy, but they were, I think they were just taking on some debt, but then they'd just learnt about an offset mortgage and offsetting some of the mortgage so that they're paying less interest and then able to pay down the mortgage faster. And like that was their light bulb of, holy shit, this doesn't have to be 30 years. Like there's another way.
Yeah.
And you could almost see that part of the video was like, oh, if we, stay living like this for a bit longer, we're going to then have more left over. We can clear this mortgage faster. And then you could just see the difference of life that's then opened up by understanding that.
Yeah, exactly. And just that compounds, Like you start saving more money, and then you see the progress, and it makes it easier to read a book, pick up a book because you're getting progress. And it makes it easier to go to work because you're getting progress. Whereas, it's really hard when you're just paying your mortgage and you're like just paying your energy bills. It's really hard to build your momentum. And that comes back to younger guys. Like, you can build your momentum when you're younger and have all these nest eggs and ready to go, rather than when you're 25, you've got nothing and you have to build that momentum again and start again. Yeah. So, yeah.
Understanding your mortgage at 19, how good. It's interesting, I think the marketing machine has convinced us that the goal is to own a home, which doesn't even mean which basically means have a mortgage.
Absolutely.
When I think the original concept around it was probably becoming mortgage free and owning your home so that you then have more chance of owning your life and your decisions and have more options. But as things have become more expensive and we've put more debt into the system, it's kind of, people have been hoodwinked to think that the goal is to just have a house or have it like, so that, or not pay a landlord is probably, you know, that, and you see people quote that all the time, like, I'd rather pay my own mortgage and stuff like that. But really, if you can get rid of paying rent or a mortgage, then your life's completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just gives you that springboard to attack life with.
So I think, like, often I'll say, you know, and I think Mikey summed this up really well years ago. People were messaging and being like, what does this mean? And I'm like, it's pretty simple. But he said, you know, the goal shouldn't be to you know, have a mortgage for 30 years. Your goal should be to basically own your own home.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I just don't think, like, the marketing machine's done so well to, like, the goal is to have your own home.
Yeah.
And don't worry about all the costs and stuff that go out. Now we need to figure out, how do we pay this bitch down? You know,
absolutely.
Not have the debt.
Yeah, and you see it on Facebook when, like, a lot of people my age are starting to get into their houses, and it's like this big celebration. Like, you've got a house, like, incredible. But in reality, they've probably got a 10% deposit down. They're paying the insurance for the loan, and they've got a lot of debt out, and that's, you know, and it's scary to me. That kind of scared me a lot to be like, okay, sweet, so I'm 27 in 30 years. Oh, shit. Like, that's a lot of my life gone and just ticking over a mortgage. And when you get out in the world and you meet these people and that's what they've been doing for their whole lives, you know, they pay off their mortgage and they'll go on a holiday. And I was like, that's not for me. I want to work hard. I want to take risk. And that's how I get ahead. And obviously learned that.
Good on you.
Yeah.
All right, mate, let's change tact a little bit. So you then, you actually said as well that you provide value to my employer from doing other things that other people weren't willing to do. Like, a good takeaway for a lot of people, right?
Yeah, so I was just there all the time. You know, if my boss wanted anything, I'd be there, you know. And, just there was an old podcast you did about providing value when it came to your pay rise. Yeah. And I remember I had all this information. We sat down and he was not ready for it. And I was like, inflation's going up. Look at these inflation data. I'm willing to do this, 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 and this. And he was like, oh, that's awesome. You know, that's great. And then you just stick out from the crowd straight away.
Work it.
If you're just willing to provide and go that extra step. And I mean, I'm more than happy to work hard. I did a lot of hours because around where I live, like, a lot of guys knock off for surfing and, you know, live a really good life. But, you know, I was there from Puka. I don't really surf. I play football. Yeah. And I was just there to work and make money and just always be there. Like, my phone would always be there if something happened on site or something needed to be moved or whatever. I'd pick up the phone and I'd be there.
It's funny, because I think people, when they hear they're providing value, we don't really get taught that. So it's then, well, what does that even mean? But sometimes providing value is literally just being accessible or someone that people can count on in a world where people can't count on a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And if you can count on someone, that's very valuable.
Yeah, and take responsibility. Like, as a builder, I was young, so like if you have a building company and I employ Luke and he can run a whole site for me, you know, how great's that? You know, I just clip the ticket, and that's sweet, and I can trust Luke and he does an awesome job, and that's what I wanted to be. You know, I just want to basically run the whole site, deal with the customer, deal with everything, and then you kind of get to the point and you're like, oh, why is he clipping the ticket?
Into the next part of the yarn. So and so then what happens from there when you kind of start thinking like that?
Yeah, so obviously your chat on the headphones. Yeah. That was good because I just bought some AirPods for like $300 and I was like, oh man, this must be a better way. Yeah. You know, I hate tax. And so I got into contracting, started writing things off, and it's like a bit more money, but obviously you don't have like an employee contract or anything like that. And then just got into that and started working, and I was on a contract build. I was on this big house, and it was great. I really enjoyed it straight away. I was my own boss. Like, if something ever happened with him, you know, you just be like, go down the road and be like, hey mate, I'm Philip Paul. This is my CV of work, and I'm more than happy to be there anytime you want. and then that like, in the trades kind of gets snapped up pretty quickly.
Yeah. Just unpack that quickly for us or for people who are listening that are in the trade. So you're basically telling people that you're always available and that you're willing to do whatever
Yeah,
they need.
absolutely.
Yeah. So it sounds so simple, but that's really important to other tradies.
Yeah, I work public holidays. I'm more than happy to do that. As a contractor as well, it's way easier because the boss doesn't have to pay time and a half and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm more than happy to turn up. And they're great days to work. They're super quiet on site. You get a lot more done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and just always there, always want more responsibility. Just want it like, once you realise in the trades that, they don't know what they're doing. Like everyone's making a mistake. Like everyone, in a good way, in every industry.
Yeah.
All learning. So like the best you can do is put your hand up and give it a crack. And that kind of snowballs to wanting more and more and pushing yourself. Well, in my case, it did. And so just keep on going. And always happy to provide value and always, more than happy to turn up on site on time. And I enjoy building. It's great. Outside all day. So it's a bit of fun, really. And you can just do the physical labour and you can have whatever you want in your ears, which is amazing. So I listen to hours and hours of podcasts. And that's helped it grow. Like if I wasn't building, I don't think I could keep that information in my ears as much and listen to books and listen to everything. And building's great for that. And like every tradie, you got to, like you go on sites and it's all George FM and it's like boof, 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 boof.
Yeah.
And there's a few guys around, they're like tucked away and they'll be listening to, Rogan or Keep the Change or something. And their life's changing. They're like, they're growing as people. And it's awesome to see. Like, but it's certainly rare. Like, everyone's a George FM or The Rock, and everyone's wondering why, like, where all their money goes, and it's just like, right, it's at the pub at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Wow. So for when you were contracting, what did you use for the tax side of things?
Oh, Henry.
Awesome. Did you learn about that through Keep the Change?
It was before Keep the
cool.
Change. Yeah.
Nice.
But when James Henry, he was on, and I was like, oh, awesome, another Kiwi story. I love a Kiwi story.
Yeah.
I love very patriotic for our country.
Nice.
And I was like, I'll support this. But now I'm getting to a different stage where Henry's like a bit small and I'm trying to do things a different way.
Yeah.
So now it's like need to get a real accountant that can have a conversation a bit easier.
Set up a company and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. But Henry is amazing and it's so simple. And it's, super proud to, like Xero, like super proud to call it a New Zealand company. They're awesome.
It's awesome, eh? Yeah. And it's such a simple thing that they've like started with solving their own problem and then and it's just snowballed in hundreds of thousands of customers.
Yeah, and it's scary where they'll go, where Henry's going to go. He came on the podcast and he was kind of didn't want to talk about where they were going because it was so exciting.
Yeah. I might have to get him back on. I'll make a note.
Yeah.
Get a little update.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, mate. And so basically for you for the next while, so you're going to finish this place. It sounds like you're going to go into business and start hiring in time.
Yeah. So I'm a one-man band at the moment. I've got a few jobs on, just like to pay for the house and stuff and just carry on. But yeah, that's the goal. Yeah, that's the goal. Nice. I love more than just building, but I think there's a lot of young men in our country that like need a bit of a shoulder around them.
Yeah,
and a positive shoulder, and that's kind of what I'm very interested in, like trying to create a nice atmosphere for younger guys because it's really hard to get ahead. Like life's really hard as it is.
Yeah.
Let alone like the New Zealand Herald article telling you to move to Australia.
Yeah. Every week. And then interviewing people that did and how amazing it is. I'm like, bombarded at the beginning of this year. And just trying to like do that and make sure like set an example for young guys that you can do it in New Zealand. You don't need to leave. And hard work gets you places still. Yeah, it's a bit of an uncommon narrative at the moment, right? Yeah.
It's one of the bones. I'm not a big fan of that whole narrative of just move to Australia and life gets better.
Yeah.
There's plenty of guys that haven't done that, like especially in the trades. Everyone, you get sold a dream, but Australia's got problems, bigger problems than New Zealand.
100%.
And the way you get told about it is like you go to Perth and you make a whole lot more money, but like Perth isn't like what we have here, in my opinion. Yeah. Like Coromandel's 2 hours away. You go up north and you have New Zealanders, in my opinion, are much nicer people. Like you could go around Auckland this morning, people saying g'day.
Yeah.
And Australia's just like big. Like when you get there, and you go to Melbourne, for example, and it's big. It's like it's in your face. And some people love it, and that's great. Heaps of great Kiwis over there. But telling every 19-year-old, 20-year-old to go over there is not helping our country one bit. And it's a bit of a shame that like New Zealand Herald, such a big piece of media, says that, because we really need to keep the talent here.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, is New Zealand's a better country than Australia. For 5 million people, we punch really above our weight.
Yeah.
And whatever you want to do, we got Peter Beck, we got Liam Lawson in the F1.
Yeah.
So many. Chris Wood won Premier League Player of the Month. Like amazing Kiwis. And all we hear from the media is, go to Australia or
James McDonald, world's best jockey.
Yeah.
We routed them off.
Yeah,
man. We was down on the West Coast for the first time, just on the weekend, and it was just a good reminder for me. I just love regional New Zealand because I guess like coming from Dannevirke and spending time in Taranaki and stuff like that, and now you kind of get into the grind of the city, but just getting back into the atmosphere where, we're staying in like a country pub, the Paroa Hotel, shout out to them. And, the publican's just like looking after us, like, oh mate, I can drop you guys into Greymouth, I can drop you at the airport and shit. And then we're at the airport and we fly over the Alps and like the air hostesses are like taking photos out the window of the beauty of that. And I'm just thinking, man, they fly around the country all the time and they're still blowing away at the beauty beneath us and stuff. And you have to train your brain to look for that shit. Otherwise, all you see is the country's fucked and like all that sort of stuff that I try and say like, yep, that's gonna, like, it is hard, but if you stay there, it will be like that. So you've got to look for the good things that are happening here. Yeah.
And Auckland gets a hard time, like, for what it is.
Yeah.
And I've grown up in Auckland, and it's a city, but it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Go down to the Harbour Bridge, you go for a dip after this. And then you can go to wonderful restaurants. You can have sport here. You got the Sail GP on this weekend.
Tennis was on the other day.
Yeah, it's just fantastic, and people just want to just go to Australia. It's way better.
You earn more money.
Yeah.
There's fucking ways to make more money in New Zealand too.
Absolutely. I mean, exactly. You just work harder. And the other thing, like with fly in, fly out things, is people realise they're making more money, but they get you a pound of flesh. It's real hard work. I've talked to guys there, and they're like, I got a brand new jet ski, the Land Cruiser, and everything, but they have to fly into work, and they like have no family life, and people don't really realise that. But that's Australia. It just jars me to hear it. That just to tell every young Kiwi to just go over there.
Yeah. Especially when we need them here, building and contributing and just encouraging other people and.
I mean, they come back here and they're like, everything's run down in New Zealand. And I mean, there's a million Kiwis over in Australia. Like, imagine if you paid that tax over here.
Yeah.
We could build more. We could, be a better country.
Yeah. This podcast is brought to you by Tourism New Zealand. All the political parties in the country. It's cool to bump into people that are actually passionate about New Zealand. So that's good. Yeah. A couple of questions to finish, mate. If you could give one piece of financial advice to your 18-year-old self, looking back with all the stuff that you've done, what would that be?
Just start reading.
Nice.
Just start reading. Just pick up a book, and everyone's done it before you. Like, every problem in the world that you think you're the first one to hit, someone's already fixed it. Someone's already gone through it, and they're on the other side.
It's so freeing knowing that, like learning that. Like often when I bump into something that I haven't encountered before, I'm just like, someone would have solved this. I just need to find out who. How did they work through it? And that unlocked it actually just stopped so much worry for me, because then I just accepted that it's not me or my ego. Like, I don't need to figure this out. Like, sometimes you've got to drill in and get shit done, but sometimes, when you realize, I'm worrying about something that someone else has done, drop the ego, reach out to them and be like, hey mate, how do I work through this?
Yeah. And older guys in the trades are great. They are actually really good. And in life, I've got heaps of positive mentors, and they're all in their 60s and 70s, and they're all good friends, and they're all super helpful, and they'll go out of their way for me. And and you can just bounce something off them, and they've already done it. They're like, oh yeah, that was easy. It wasn't even a big deal. Like, you just go to a lawyer's or a solicitor or whatever, and sort it out. And
all that weight, all that pressure, you're like, okay, that just made it sound real easy, and I'm making a big deal out of it.
Yeah. Like buying a house, like buying land, that was like a massive ordeal.
Yeah, pretty scary. Yeah,
but everyone's done it, and you just talk to them, and you don't want to make mistakes, like, because there is a lot of money moving and stuff like that. But it's when you talk to an older guy and you say, oh, that's all good, just get your solicitor, but pay them the extra $1,000 or whatever it is, and just take that stress off, and they'll organise it. So that $1,000 worth 10 grand.
Yeah.
In the scheme of things. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Next one. What's one thing you'd love to see every Kiwi understand about money?
Yeah, it's a good one. That it can work for you.
Nice.
That it can work for you, and it's it's nothing to be scared of. It's just money. It doesn't really bite or anything. I mean, there's all sorts of. It's a moving thing, and there's a whole lot of different elements to it. But at the end of the day, it's just money, and the sooner you get it, you shake its hand and get on with it and learn about it, the easier it is. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Love that. Yeah, I think a lot of times people, we hear that, oh, you've got to get money working for you. And that's great as a saying, but you've got to go on the journey of understanding, A, yourself to start with, B, where you're going and how you want it to work for you, but then also how you can make it work for you and what you're comfortable with. In your journey, you could have easily gone, shit, I got quite a good bit of interest here from this term deposit. Like, this is me for life. I'm just going to keep stacking term deposits. Yeah. But with obviously your goals and your drive and whatnot, you're like, oh, fuck, term deposits aren't it. Like, I need to learn something else.
Yeah.
And then you just carry on writing the chapters.
Yeah, exactly.
But you've got to start somewhere and you've got to get the lessons.
Yeah. And like it goes back to that first point, is someone's already done it. Someone's already started.
Yeah.
And they just follow what they did. And normally that's pretty right. And, the market kicks you in the teeth of it. I've lost a bit of money. I'm just not all wins.
Yeah.
I've lost like 30, 40 grand days. 30 weeks where stock is just like, they're not interested. Like some bad news. Annual report, spodumene content, they don't want it. The Chinese don't want it that week.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, oh, it is what it is. You just carry on.
Keep going.
Just keep going, and you just keep on stacking the cash, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Nice. Anything over your few years listening to Keep the Change, mate, that like really sticks out that's been really helpful?
There's heaps of stuff, to be fair. It's a bit strange meeting you today because you've been in my ears for like 3 years, you and Mikey. And it's just, it's really nice to have like-minded Kiwis that are just like battling. And it's so many different lessons. And it's great to see you guys grow because, and you're real open about how much money you made. Like before Christmas, you kind of broke it all down. And I was like, oh, fuck, he makes so much. The man. And Mikey, he makes good money too. And it's just nice to see like you can win in New Zealand and you can carry on. And it's just more, it sounds odd, but it's just like two mates of me and I just took them on and then that's an hour gone of the working day and I'm like, oh, yeah, sweet. And then, it's like there was this one where you guys were talking about how this was the bottom of the market, like everyone was scared. Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm going to buy some property. Yeah. And I was like, and it was also like someone thinks the same. Like, I'm not this crazy guy because you go and talk to everyone and they're like, oh, don't touch property, man. Interest rates. Yeah. They're going to 8%, 9%. And I'm like, oh, no, this is sweet. All good. I'll take this deal, when no one else wants it. And that kind of goes to my go against the grain philosophy. You do all right going against the grain. Like when everyone wants to buy it, you should probably be selling it. And when everyone wants to sell it, you should probably be, oh, g'day, I'll give you a bit less than what you want. And they'll be like, oh, that's great. Yeah. So. Yeah,
it's funny. I guess what people probably don't see behind the scenes, like as I was driving here, like Mikey sent me this chart where interest paid to the banks is like gone from, because I don't know if you've seen the graph we've talked about where it's like gone up and it's now slightly starting to decrease, and we're talking about, okay, like there's a pod around how like the financial hurt is probably coming to an end in terms of the real squeeze on the household. But then also Mikey's messaging me this morning being like, I won't say what he said, but he was like, we need to do a pod, and how he was explaining it, I will summarize it as about how do we learn more resilience and like going through hard shit and how that's actually like really valuable for you. And then we will, he'll give me that idea. I'll then go, right, I need to come up with, so then instantly my brain goes into different things and, okay, how can we storytell this in a way that's relatable for people so that we're not just like, here's a podcast on resilience.
Yeah, absolutely.
People are like, fuck, just another one. These corporate guys now. And it's fun for us, and that's probably all the stuff in the background that people like don't see, but it's rewarding for us to then know that people like yourself are getting a lot out of it and then able to apply it or can relate to what we're talking about. Yeah.
And New Zealand's such a small market, like no one's talking about what's going on in New Zealand. Like, it's all American stuff, which is great.
You can still learn a lot of shit, but it's like often the unit size and the tax rules and stuff are completely different.
Absolutely. And your information on all sorts of different people. I forgot the the lady that was talking about all the superannuation and stuff like that. She was fascinating. The immigration stuff.
Oh, yeah.
All that stuff was just like, oh, sweet. Okay, so we're going to be like 5.8 million in whatever year. Okay, sweet. So we're going to keep growing. So I should probably just keep on chipping away. And,
Yeah, they're going to need houses. And
yeah, they're going to need houses. Yeah. And just all that kind of niche stuff that like, we're only 5 million people. And again, we're so small compared to the rest of the world. And, and like you listen to like American podcasts and the amount of money moving over there. And once you understand that, oh, we're in New Zealand, like, it's not that risky. Like, we're all pretty safe economy.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just been great having two Kiwis that talk about finance rather than some Yanks or some Australians. That just it's not really in my backyard. So, yeah, it's been
awesome.
Absolutely fantastic.
Well, mate, this has been bloody good.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in and making
more than welcome.
Yeah, making the time and the drive up.
Yeah.
Anything to leave the audience with before we sign out?
Probably you kind of have a choice in life as well. You can either choose your suffering or you're going to suffer, and like that's either like a long mortgage or you have to pay repayments or whatever. Or you can go and you can get ahead and you can work hard and you can not buy the new shoes or buy the new cars and stuff, and you suffer in a different way. Life's really really hard, and I don't think people appreciate that enough. That everyone's going through it. And so you get to choose it. So you kind of, like I said, you shake hands with your own life, and your pillow's your pillow. So you got to make your own decisions, and you can't just blame the world for where you are. And that's that's kind of where I want to leave it. And
just on that. Oh, sorry to interrupt.
No.
Do you but do you still have moments in life where you do get into that blame, excuse, deny, and then like how do you get yourself out of those?
Oh, yeah. When a boomer says like, you're not working hard enough. Like, like not everyone knows your financial.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, all these kids like buying coffee and stuff like that. Well, like, come on. Like if you actually do the data, like it's not that easy. You know? And having that appreciation that buying a house isn't that easy. As like, boomers just, when we were a kid, our interest rates, 18% interest rates. It's like you're out for $100,000. Like my generation's out, most of them for like 600.
Yeah.
And then that's a lot of interest. And having the empathy towards it, like the financial struggle that everyone still goes through, but you got to help yourself. You can't be like, you can't. Yeah, it's easy to blame someone, but that doesn't get me forward. No. And it's very easy to blame the world. I mean, everyone wants to be a victim. Like it's a race to be the victim at the moment, and I just can't afford that. I've got I got two little brown eyes like watching me. Like I got a boy, so you don't
want to teach them that shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like if I show weakness, that's normal. Like if I sit on the couch and be like, Labour's in, just into destroying the country with their COVID laws. Yeah. That's like, he's watching that. He's like, oh, well, sweet. So when I get to my dad's age, it's someone else's fault.
Yeah.
But nah, that stops with me. And just try to set the tone for the house. And that's what kind of like, once you have, a family, and I want to have a family early, and that's my own decision. It is easy to be like, fuck, he doesn't have kids. He doesn't know what's going on. Yeah. But big shout out to all the parents out there. Yeah. And shout out to my wife. She's great and she's made it awesome. But there needs to be a shout out to parents in general because it is hard, like especially. And people don't understand until you have kids. Like, for example, summer, everyone's like fucking off, on their jet skis and stuff. And, you're looking after your kids and they don't want to be they don't want to leave then they're crying and all that stuff. And it is a big change. Yeah. But there's so many different things that, so many different elements that we need to kind of like look into each other and show some more empathy because rather than run to be the victim. Yeah. Because everyone's going through it. Like, we're two guys sitting here. We don't know what's like going behind each other. There's all sorts of stuff. And that's
do you want to get into that or?
Yeah, got another out. But it's just kind of stopping those excuses because everyone's got an excuse, Yeah. And another great saying is someone's had it harder than you, but it's doing better than you.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's Hamosi. So that's just like, oh fuck, like I'm working Saturday, all good. Like there's someone in India or Bangladesh that's cutting up boats and like eating asbestos, Like we've won the lottery as well. Coming back to New Zealand point is we live in New Zealand. Like that's wicked. Like if most Americans would kill to live here. Most Australians would love to like chill out here and like come over here, and like most of the whole world would want to come here. Yeah. And just having that mindset that working a Saturday, not going out for dinner 3 times a week. It's like it's not even suffering. Like we live it so sweet here. and we have so much opportunity. Another point is like, it's never like with the boomer point, and I get their opinion, I get their point of like the 18% interest rate. But another positive about my generation is we have so much information.
Yeah.
Like, there's no keep the change for older guys, and there was no books. Well, there was books, but they weren't. You'd have to go to the library, and you're busy, you know.
Yeah, even like, you know, talking about the ability to listen to a podcast whilst you're working on site.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you can snowball everything so much better now. So, and a great point that you had before Christmas was it's never been easier to get distracted or like get ahead, you know. So it's your choice.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's
It's just about, I think, bringing more people to the start line to realise that it's a choice, much like, you know, that lady who's playing Candy Crush. You know, maybe I've just walked past in a moment where she's having some down, and it's completely sweet. But, you know, we choose what distractions we let into our life. And once you see that, then you can't really unsee it. And then, but it actually becomes easier to go, like, why am I playing this? Do I need to? Or like, why am I not going back to that person? Why am I not doing that work or whatever? And you just start to get in control of your life so much faster than what I think people realise is possible. Yeah,
absolutely. And you're in control of your life 100%. And I feel like people have given up that fact. Like I've been fed my whole life that you've never thought a house is so expensive, they're crazy. But it's not that hard to work 5-6 years of your life, save that deposit and get into it. Like, just that's a base level. But if you just think, if you get sold and you believe it, that you'd just never be able to afford a house. Like, okay, sweet. Well, I don't need to try, you know.
Then what? But like, what is,
I'll just go travel. And I'll wake up when I'm 30 and I'll be like, oh, fuck, I got like nothing.
I still can't afford the house. Yeah, I've got some epic memories. I'm still broke.
Yeah.
But now what? Then you've got to open up another chapter of like, okay, well, but I think once you really know what you want to achieve, then your brain starts to look for options for you. But when you feed your brain that things can't happen, and then you add on not having any goals, then your brain's going to find more reasons why it can't happen. So then you find new solutions, like, you know, whatever you decide to do. And then we get further down the path age-wise, and then it looks even harder. So then it definitely can't be done because we didn't start earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes back to the point of, like, if you just pick up a book at Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, they talk about you're in control. Like, that's the whole, basically what it boils down to is you're in control. And if I was in year 12 or something and someone handed me that book, you know, it would change a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
And that would really help. But at the end of the day, everyone's a grown adult and they've got to make the decision to pick up that book and start there. And I wish there was a silver bullet where you could, you know, get them to do that. But that's just how it works, you know.
Yeah. All right, I've got a book for you for the way out, mate. Outwitting the Devil. Have you heard me talk about that one?
You've done that? I finished it. Yeah.
Crazy, Yeah.
Crazy book. And that's just like, you know, you get into all these different routines and stuff, which you're not really aware of because that's Atomic Habits, you know, it's a great book. And then you read a book like that, oh, fucking hell. I let myself slip, you know. And it's a fantastic book. And it's just another shock. Like, it's one of those books that shocks you into like action.
Yeah. I always get good comfort out of listening or reading a book from decades ago, talking about all the issues that we kind of think are present. You're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
This is nothing new. I've decided to keep it relevant, but it's actually always been here. We've got to work through it.
Yeah. And like, it's never been louder in our society than negative comments. Like, you know, we just went through COVID. And like, if I took you back to 2021 and I said, like, the world's never going to be the same again, like, you're probably like, oh, it could, maybe.
Yeah.
But we're here. It's more than normal. Everyone's cruising outside. Like, it's just back to normal. Like, but if I told you that in 2021, you'd be like, nah, the world's changed. You know?
Yeah.
And the world hasn't. It just keeps on rolling. And, you know, you can have, you know, Bitcoin is another thing. You can have all these different changes of technology, but nothing really changes. You know, we're still the same. And we're super lucky to be in this generation because I like to read books about, there's one called Endurance by Ernest Shackleton, and it's about these guys who get shit. Great book. Everyone should read it. And it's about, they have a really hard time. And there's also Into the Sea, and it's about these guys who were 200 years ago, not long ago. And they just, Endurance is, their ship gets smashed by the ice, and they're in the middle of Antarctica, and they managed to get out alive, long story short. And it's like, no one died, and it's just, wow. And it's like, so when I'm in site, waking up at 6:30. Oh, on site at 6:30. I'm like, this is not hard. This is sweet, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is all good. Like, it's the sun shining, or even if it's raining, it's all good. Like, I go home to my nice comfy bed, my beautiful wife and my boy. Like, it's all good. Like, and having that mindset of like, man, this is sweet. Like, we live in an awesome city, and just gratitude. I guess that what really comes down to. Like, like personally, I have faith and show gratitude. Pray for gratitude every morning and like say things I'm thankful for, and they're just like, oh sweet, so I've got that. You know, it's not all what I'm missing out on, which could be like you flicking up your Instagram feed and it's like, you know, Mikey just bought his Lamborghini and like your mates are in Monaco and like, and then you're like, oh fuck, this customer not interested. They just told me to leave, you know. You know. Or you can just be, oh man, like Mikey's my mate, you know. I can go over there whenever I want. I got the money, but you know, it's all that mindset and that gratitude that really helps.
Yeah, gratitude's so important, taking us to a place of abundance rather than lack. We're going to do, Mike and I have got a couple of pods to record soon, living a life of lack and then living a life of abundance, and then the two differences. So I think gratitude is a big part of the difference between those two states. Yeah. Well, mate, thank you again for coming in. That's been outstanding. How'd you go? 65 minutes. You enjoyed that?
Oh, it was fantastic. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I could yap all day.
Oh, love it, mate. You should. You should. I'm glad that you're encouraging other, people in construction and young fellas and people who are prepared to listen because, I think, you could probably, some of them could listen to an accountant bang on about this shit and go, they just won't. It's not for them because I'm not in construction. But when you've got someone like yourself who's doing all of this, then you're a profile that they can relate to more as well. So
and I love to tell them that I'm no one special. I open up all my books and I show you. It's nothing special. I'm just like you. I failed all my year 12 exams. I'm useless.
They've asked you to leave school, mate.
Yeah, exactly. So that doesn't mean anything like really in the scheme of things. You're just an adult and you're going to get judged what you do as an adult. So like.
Good man. Yeah. All right, mate. Well, thank you, and we'll stay in touch and see, how things progress over the next few years.
Yeah. Thank you. It's been great.